When I was young, I imagined when I hit 25, I was going to be a full adult with a house and a wife and a career, maybe even kids on the way. But it hasn't turned out like that. Life, as it turns out, hasn't been the straight path that I thought it was going to be. It's had its twists and turns and ups and downs. So what I thought I'd do is sit down and have a chat. Talk about some of the most important things that I've learned over these 25 years of life, in the hopes that someone in a similar situation may benefit and maybe provide some insight into their own lives that they didn't realize. This video is going to be raw and honest, without many cuts and edits and without a script. So please excuse me if I sound nervous, it's because I am. But anyway, on to the lessons. Lesson 1, the past is a fiction we're writing every single day. See, I've been aware of this idea that what's happened to us in the past forms as this kind of narrative in our mind, and that's how we shape our own self-identity. But it's only until this year, where I'd faced up to some of what I've been through, that I really looked into its impacts on me and how it shaped who I am now, that I've actually realized this. It's like everything that happened to me in my past, I had this shade of emotion on it, and because of that shade, I wasn't able to see clearly what happened and its true impact on who I am today. And that's been a really powerful change for me, realizing that it's only until you can take a step back and view yourself in the past from an objective and empathetic and understanding point of view that you'll realize why you are how you are, if that makes any sense. See, I have behavioral patterns that for the longest time I've wanted to get rid of, that I really have felt deep inside my core that it's not me, but I just assumed it was who I am because I couldn't get rid of those patterns. But I started off this year in counseling, and a lot of that was uncovering things that have happened to me, and just to have someone view it from their perspective and not to have this judgment on what I've been through that I hold on myself has been really powerful. And I think it's something that anyone can truly benefit from, because I know I have, and I'm not quite there, and there is still certainly things that I need to process and deal with in my past, but I've done a lot of that this year, and it's been really powerful in pushing me in the right direction towards healing from these things that I've avoided for so long. So yeah, I think that's really important. Lesson 2, the double-edged sword of future thinking. See, I'm someone who loves chasing goals, loves having ideas of what they're going to do, that they're excited for what's to come next. And it's a really cool way to live, but there's always this hint of anxiety. For example, I'm moving to Australia very soon, and I'm so excited. I'm hoping to make so many good memories and meet lots of people and surf all the time and live in the sun. It's going to be great. But what if it isn't? You know, that's always running in the back of my head. What if I run out of money? Or what if it's not as enjoyable as I thought? What if I set this expectation so high, but I break my leg in the first week and everything comes crashing down? See, living the future gives me this purpose, and it gives me drive, and it gives me motivation, which is so helpful. Some of my best times are when I'm chasing goals. But the issue is, I feel like I've got so used to living in the future that when the moment comes, I'm just looking at what's next. And I don't know the answer to this. You know, this is something I'm trying to work on, having gratitude, having appreciation. But I don't know how to do it yet. So I feel like a lot of the time I'm not appreciating what I have now because I'm looking to what's in the future, which has also driven me to work really hard and stay motivated and stay disciplined. So it really is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it will push you and it will drive you to achieve more. On the other hand, you can really miss out on a lot of enjoyment and a lot of experience. You know, for example, the other day I went surfing, and all I could think about when I was surfing is how can I improve? So the next wave I do better, and the wave after I do better. So maybe in a year's time I'm absolutely shredding. And it was only until after the experience I realized that, hey, when did I have fun? You know, when did I give myself that moment to enjoy the process. So yeah, that's something I've been thinking about a lot. So there we are. Lesson 3, your relationship with your loved ones mirrors your relationship with yourself. And this is something I've really been thinking about a lot recently, because this year I've been stuck at home, which on the one hand is extremely boring and I can't stand being in England. But on the other hand, it's really let me spend a lot of time with the people I care about. My close friends and my family who previously I hadn't, spent that much time with. I've taken advantage of those relationships and I've gone off doing my own thing, which has been great. But it's also meant that I missed out a lot. And this year I've been able to form a stronger connection with them, share some experiences with them and be there for them when they're going through their own stuff. So that's been really powerful. And since I've formed that stronger relationship, it's also created a clearer image of who I am. Because who I am when I'm around them is who I am in my core. And to have more experience with that, to enjoy that feeling a lot more, has allowed me to establish this clearer kind of understanding of who I should be. And of course, around different people, you branch off and you extend and you become slightly altered versions of yourself. But it's really important to know who that core person is. And I feel like the stronger relationship with the people around you, the stronger relationship you have with that person. That's your true representation of who you are, is who you are when you're with your family or your friends or whoever you hold closest to you. And that's been a really powerful lesson for me. And I have so much more clarity in who I am. Don't get me wrong, still trying to work out the details, but who I am as a person is that guy. And that's really been helpful in shaping what I want to do in the future. Lesson 4, the paradox of being an overthinker. See, on the one hand, being an overthinker is great. It allows me to learn from my mistakes. It allows me to plan for the future and be prepared if things are going to fail. It's got me to where I am, and it's allowed me to understand my emotions. And because of that, I know what I should do when I feel a certain way and how to feel better and how to process my emotions. On paper, I know exactly how I'm feeling all the time, and that is most certainly an advantage. But on the other hand, it makes things a lot more complex. I think that if I didn't think so much, I would find a lot more peace. Like, I'm not saying I'm some mega overthinker that is thinking in much deeper levels than the rest of the entire world and the population. But I see other people and they clearly don't think about their purpose and meaning and their life and their motivation and what's important to them. They don't think as much as I do. And they're happier. Or at least more peaceful. I wish I didn't have to meet these certain standards of myself, and I wish I could move on when I make a mistake, but there's this process going on inside my mind that's constantly drilling into me what's going to happen next, what you should have done, what this means, what this means, what this means, and it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's tiring and it's draining, but it's got me to where I am. And to some extent, I'm envious of people who don't have this level of overthinking, because they can find a lot more peace. They can move on from things. They can be content with a 9-to-5 and just raising a family and having a home. And that's great. And I'm so happy for them. But on the other hand, I'm also grateful. I want to have this ambition. I want to have this purpose. I want to keep driving because that's where I find my fulfillment. I don't know. I don't think there's a better option. I simply think there's pros and cons to almost anything, and overthinking is no exception to that. So if you're an overthinker, don't put yourself down because of this, because it can lead to so many opportunities to get a new depth of appreciation for things, but it can also, lead to a lot more complex and difficult experiences. So you're not alone. That's what I'm trying to say. Lesson 5. Peace can only be attained outdoors. This is a pretty simple one, but I think it's truly, truly important. The times when I have felt most peaceful, and I'm not talking about generally in life, I'm talking about moments where I found absolute gratitude for where I am. I've always been outside. I've never been in my room or in a cinema or something. It's always been in nature, either by myself or with some friends, and I think it's so powerful. And I really would implore anyone watching this to just spend more time outdoors. Whether it's picking up a new hobby or going for walks, just something in nature. That's all this point is. Lesson 6, the power of working for something outside of yourself. Now this is a whole topic in and of itself, and I could make countless videos about this, and I probably will in the future. But really briefly, working for things outside of me, for things greater than I am, has been the most profound impact in my life and its trajectory. Back in 2019, I went to the US to work in one of the summer camps, and it was a special needs camp, and that kind of work requires you to put all of your focus outside of yourself. You're not thinking about how you're feeling that day or how you look or whether you said the right thing to one of your friends or not. You're not thinking about politics or what's going on at home. You're thinking about, in the moment, what am I doing right now? And what can I do to service this other person? And it's so, so powerful. I found so much confidence. I found so much joy. I found the meaning of what I want to do with my life at that camp. And I can't emphasize enough how powerful it can be to work for something outside of you. There's this whole theory of anxiety that it basically comes along from thinking about yourself too much. And I, to some extent, do have to agree. I think there's probably flaws with it. But I know the times in which I'm most anxious is when I'm worrying about myself and my future and what this person thinks of me, what is going to happen to me. And the moment you fully invest yourself in the kind of thing that requires you to not do that, it's so powerful. So, so powerful. I can't begin to explain how important it is. And I'll probably make some videos on that in the future. But that's all I'm going to say about it right now. Work for something greater than you, whether it's a charity, for other people, for a big project, to creating your own business where the business is now the focus, not about you making money or you being a business person, you know? It can really and truly change your life, and it did for me. Lesson 7, growth is not a linear path. Now, I think this is a pretty well-known lesson, and I'm not going to talk too much on it. But a lot of this channel and a lot of my thinking and a lot of my time is spent on growth and trying to become a better person. And I've realized, especially recently over the last 6 months or so, that it's not a linear path. You know, I have some days where I'm so good, I'm focused and I'm committed to my work, and some days where I can't do anything. I eat badly and I don't focus and I just sit watching YouTube videos all day. And to some extent, that's a step back. And I unlearn lessons, and sometimes it feels like I'm the same person as I was 5 years ago. And you have those days, and that's okay. It's like anything. It's you're learning a skill, and it's not the simple graph that you see online. It's a zigzag, cut back, 360, flip up, and then drop to the bottom. You know, it's not a straight line. And I think that's really important to know and not be disheartened by it, because as long as you are practicing the right things over a long period of time, you'll get there. You know, I'm sure the image of who you want to be seems like such a long way away, and the image of what you want to achieve the same. And when you take that step back, it does feel like, you know, you haven't made any progress at all, but it's not the case. And growth is exactly the same as achieving any goal. As long as you set your mind to it and you do the right things over time, you'll get there eventually. Yeah, pretty big topic, but we'll move on. Lesson 8, the rarity of regretting exercise. Exercise has been a massive thing in my life for as long as I can remember, from playing sports to going for walks to exploring forests to surfing to dancing, anything. It's been really important for me my entire life, and part of the exercise that has benefited me the most is always having goals and always having something to chase. As I said before, it's the time in which I feel almost the most happy, and going to the gym or trying to get better at football or surfing or just trying to feel better in my body and lose a little bit of weight has been really helpful for me. And part of that pursuit is having discipline and exercising consistently, even when you don't feel like it. And I can genuinely say, on the days where I haven't felt like exercising, if I manage to get out there and do it, I rarely regret it. The only times I regret exercising is when I get injured, but realistically, that's not anything I can control. So I don't really regret the exercise. Maybe just, I don't know, trying a bicycle kick and hurting my arm. I probably regret the bicycle kick part, but not the fact that I went to play football. So exercise consistently, be disciplined, but also know your limits. You know, if you're tired, don't go for a PB, but probably get out there and try and just move your body a little bit. Lesson 9, the self-induced illusion of scrutiny. I made that name up. I'm actually pretty proud. But essentially what this taps into is this constant feeling that we're being scrutinized, that all of our actions and what we say is under scrutiny from other people as much as we scrutinize ourselves. And this is part of being an overthinker. You know, there are so many times where I've said things and I've gone, like, I'm such an idiot for saying that. And it's been on my mind for so long, for weeks and weeks and weeks. And that person's completely forgotten about it, you know? And I think I've realized recently, after having more in-depth discussions with people I know, that everyone has their own stuff going on. And no one has enough time to worry as much about you as much as they worry about themselves. You know, imagine how much you think about yourself and you scrutinize every single thing you did. Can you imagine if you did that for every other person in your life? That would be too much. So just remember that you are so hyper aware of your own actions, and think of the difference between your awareness between your own actions and someone else's, and then reverse that. You're so aware of what you're doing, but they're down here. They don't remember what you said 3 weeks ago, but you do. You're in the shower still thinking about it, but they're not. And I think that's really important. So when you can get that idea in your head, it really does free up a lot of the anxiety of socializing, of not being authentic. Because ultimately, in 3 weeks' time, the only person that is going to be embarrassed, the only person that is going to have any thought of you is you. So you don't want to look back and think, I wasn't me then. Because that person's not going to remember. You know? I hope that makes sense. And finally, lesson 10. Life comes in swells. So you just got to ride the wave. A little surfing reference for you there, but it is true. I've realized that I go in cycles, and sometimes the cycles are shorter, sometimes they're longer. Sometimes for a period of 3 months or so, I'll be really nervous and I'll feel detached and I'll feel lost, but then I'll get out of that cycle. I'll next go through a cycle of feeling motivated and driven, and then that will run out, and then I'll have a cycle of being content for a little bit, but that will quickly run out, and then I'll feel driven and motivated again. It all comes in cycles, and simply all you have to do is just ride the wave. If you're feeling anxious, experience that anxiety. Feel what it feels like to be that, because that will pass one day. And when it does pass, you want to learn from that experience. You want to learn what helped and what didn't help. You want to learn how you maintain that motivation when you felt motivated, and how you reflected that in your work and how you worked hard and the way you scheduled the day to avoid burnout. A video on that on my channel, by the way, just saying. But essentially what I'm trying to say is emotions come and go, no matter how intense they are. So if you're going through a period where you're feeling especially down, experience it, understand it, feel it, ride the wave of that emotion. You know, there's no point of paddling against the swell, you know, it's going to come either way. So you might as well accept it, experience it, learn from it. So then in the future, when it comes again, you're better equipped. And the same goes with happiness. The same goes with feeling motivated. All of these emotions come and go. So you want to learn from it, experience it. So when they come again, you're ready. And I think that just about wraps it up. This is the longest recording I've ever done. I am sweating right now. I feel so uncomfortable. I hope this video was enjoyable. It's certainly been therapeutic for me. It's also been quite scary because I know I have absolutely butchered all of these points, and I'm going to finish this recording and wish I'd said so many different things. But regardless, can't make a perfect video. And here we are. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe. There are a bunch of different videos on growth and lessons I've been learning along the way. So feel free to check those out on my channel if you like. And aside from that, have a lovely day. Bye-bye.